And then moving on now to another question from Nikhil Kalhan 92. How have wrestling figures evolved over the years in terms of design, technology, and realism?
That's a big question.
You want to hit that first?
I'll let you take this one.
I think the key element that we at least remember would be the original Titantron Live. So I don't know if you remember, but this is when we first broke into wrestling figures, and on the bottom of the foot, the bottom of the foot, you had this magnetic strip, and the idea then would be that you'd put the figure onto the Titantron, and it would play the music. So if you think about that now, fast forward 30 years, they don't really have that technology, do they?
Yeah, but I mean, we'll get onto it later. But there are entrance grates that will have the music.
That's true.
As part of the figure, but
you'd think by now though that every single figure would have some kind of QR code, digital scan to play entrance music.
But in terms of the actual figure itself, I mean, obviously the TTL were very, 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 very basic.
Yeah.
Move the arm and the leg, and I think obviously the knee and the elbow. Some of them wouldn't even at the elbow.
I mean, articulation, I think, is a key evolution, right? So I also remember then when Ruthless Aggression came out. So Ruthless Aggression had more articulation, I believe, I remember, but it had a slightly different body mold, more realistic face scans. And in comparison to that, they kind of started to bring out R3 Tech. Do you remember R3 Tech? Kind of
with the arched backs, it was kind of weird, right?
They messed up the backs there, but I think the difference between R3 Tech and the Ruthless Aggression is that R3 Tech felt a little more realistic, a little less cartoony. A lot of the Ruthless Aggression figures kind of had a cartoony, bulky kind of thing.
I mean, it says on the R3 box, it says, real scale, real scan. So
yeah, I think they started to play a little bit more with the heights and scanned them better.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. We're still confused. And actually, that's nice into another question we had about the Bret Hart face scan. Someone asked, and we don't know the answers to why they can't do it, because I think they don't scan them at all.
Possibly, because if you think when you play the WWE games, you can create quite realistic 3D models of wrestlers on the games without scanning them. Also, possibly with Bret Hart, there might be legal issues and stuff like that. But yeah,
sometimes the sometimes the scans just look awful, and therefore you'd think that if they'd scanned them, for video games or with FIFA or something like that, they get the perfect representation. So it's kind of surprising that they don't kind of figure that out in the figure world. But in terms of design, again, articulation, realism, I guess.
Yeah, some of the, I mean, obviously we've got a few new figures now. Some of the realistic facial detail is pretty stunning in comparison to some of the older figures, obviously.
And when it comes to articulation, I'm just looking now, I think I'm wondering whether or not they've gone slightly too far. So, for example, on this Jey Uso, you can now articulate the toe.
Break his toes.
And I'm just wondering if that's...
I suppose
that's
it's
one level too much, isn't it?
But maybe it's helpful when you're posing the figures.
I don't know, but would you pose their toes ever?
Don't know.
Someone in the comments, tell us if you like to pose the top tip of the toe.
Top tip of the toe.
Top tip of the toe. Speaking of top tips, with another question. What's the other question? Can you share stories about the rarest or most sought after wrestling figures in the collector's market? I don't know if we can.
We can't,
to be honest. We try not to just pretend that we're the absolute experts. We just give stars out and we just love wrestling figures. But I would say on the subject of that, the Jim Cornette's collection that we've got here in the background, the Midnight Express, I would say that was potentially quite a rare one, even though I think they're not sold out yet. I was panicking. I was trying to buy these figures on my phone, and just because I thought they would sell out instantly, but they didn't.
I'd be curious as well. I mean, obviously we have on the basics we have the chase variant. Does that mean there's a limited supply of them? I would assume
so. Yeah.
But yeah, let us know if you struggle to find any.